Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Thanks for coming by today. It's that time of the week. We're just going to talk about my reads for the week, what I'm reading, what I finished, what I've got finished, whatever. same old stuff. But let's get going. Of course, we'll start with what I finished. And first up, it's going to be Permanent Damage by Ivy Tholen. And I was really excited to read this one because I had read Taste Like Candy by this author last year. Loved it. A really super fun slasher type of story set at a carnival. It was so fun. And so this is the pick for February Erie Indies book club. Jeez. So this is run by Kelly from Kelly Hooked on Books, where she's featuring an indie horror book for us every month. And so I was really excited that I could get a chance to read another Ivy Tholen book. And I had a good time with this one. We're following a young teenager when we first meet her, and sort of right at the beginning of the book, she and her parents are in just a horrendous car accident, and her parents die, and she is left with basically the power to see dead people after this accident. Meanwhile, she lives in this kind of small community, kind of small town that is actually sort of just rife with witchcraft. There's witches all over the place, and they sort of live within the community, and it's a thing. And so this little town is just seems really cute to me. Seems like a fun place to be. But with this power that she sees dead people, the ghosts, if you want to call them, that she sees are actually really violent towards her, and she gets attacked pretty regularly. And so the sort of local witches kind of are called in to kind of help her out, to set wards around her, that kind of thing. And she ends up just kind of living in this room, it's not one room, but kind of like this house by herself, even though she's like only 16 or so. But the witches have warded the place, and she doesn't leave, and because it's dangerous out there for her. There's a lot of other things going on here. I don't want to spoil anything, but I really had a fun time with this story. It was very intriguing. There are some twists and turns. The sort of ending I did not see coming, and that was a nice little surprise. She gets kind of involved with this psychologist who's trying to help her out too. So he's kind of a player in the story. She has like a best friend, and then there's like this witch family that's involved. It's a thing. It's a whole thing, and it was a lot of fun. It definitely it reads more like a YA type of story, but again, I'm not anti YA stories at all. So I just had a lot of fun with it. I just kind of rolled with it, and I really enjoyed seeing this girl just really like tackle like what how could she live a life. She basically has secluded herself, because she can't really exist out in the world because she's constantly attacked by these violent ghosts. So it was really interesting, and I like the interactions with her best friend, and it was really fun. It was just a lot of fun. Kind of a play on an old kind of trope of the I see dead people trope, but I was really interesting and done really well, and I just had a good time with it. So it was not too long. It's a short read. It's fun. I had a good time with that one. So I dove into Women Talking by Miriam Toews. I did this as a buddy read with MJ over at Reading This Life, and we had someone else following on her Discord too that read along with us. And I've been dying to read this since I've had this on my shelf for couple of years. I've been dying to read it because it was just sounded so interesting. And so you know what? Their movie is going to be coming out. So let me read it and see if anyone else wants to read along. And it is a really good book to chat about with others. So it's a good buddy read or book club type of book, I think, for people, because it's pretty fascinating. Essentially, we're following a group of women in a Mennonite community, who just want to start off by saying this is based on a true story, so that part is absolutely horrific. Okay, horrific. And so just knowing that going into this story, I think definitely adds a layer right to the story. So we're following a group of, like I said, Mennonite women who have over the several years, and not just women, but young girls too, and actually really young children, have been attacked in the middle of the night. And it was taught everything. Oh, you're attacked by the devil, all kinds of stuff. You're a crazy woman. You don't know what you're talking about, right? And it turns out that there's a group of, I forget how many men, 5 or 6 men or so, that have been sneaking into these women's rooms, drugging them, and then assaulting them in the middle of the night while they're unconscious. Women and children. Okay, so basically these women, they get together, they get up into a hayloft of this man's barn, and they're going to talk this out. They're giving themselves options, like, what do we do now? We can stay and just sort of forgive these men and hope that, just hope it won't happen again. We can stay and fight, and fight to be, that these men be held accountable, and all that kind of good stuff through the actual justice, legal system. Or they can run away. They can just leave and just be done with this community. Okay. And so these women are just talking about this, and it's just, what was so fascinating about this is that this is a Mennonite community. So if you know anything about Mennonites, their faith, their religion is a big part, of course, of their life. And so you see this struggle of them, of course, having been assaulted and multiple times over years, right? The sanctity of their body, which I'm sure they hold as a dear thing to them, and to have that safety taken away, having all of that just taken away from them, how, like I said, just how horrific. But then they're wrestling with their faith, because God teaches to forgive, and it's, there was a thing here, like, if I don't forgive them, if I don't forgive these men, will I not get into heaven? I mean, there's like a real, like a real scare for them of not being able to go into heaven because they've not forgiven these men for these absolutely horrendous things that they did to them. I really appreciated that it was, you could really tell that some of the women were really just wrestling with this, like, because their faith is so important to them, and some of the women were just like, F these guys, and they need to go to prison and all kinds of good stuff. And the dynamic of each of these women was super interesting, and I really loved the women talking part. I really loved hearing them talk this out. What are our options? If we do this, what then? If we do this, what then? Lots of just the interesting characters of these women, feeling different ways, wanting different things. It was just that part I really found really fascinating, and that was really the interesting part about this book. One thing what I really didn't I don't know, and I'm kind of curious why the author chose to tell the story this way, but this, Mennonite women, they don't read or write, and so basically what they do is they, it's like kind of she's kind of like the head leader, but they call in this man to take the minutes of the meeting. And so, this story is from he's telling the story. A man is telling this story through the minutes of this, and sometimes interjecting like something that happened in the past to kind of like be relevant to what was going on, in the present kind of thing. But I don't know, I just found that to be really odd, in such a powerful story, again, based on true story, things that happened to women, to have this story told from the perspective of a man, I found really weird. I found a really weird choice. And that was a choice. It was a choice that this author made. And it was strange. I don't know. I don't understand. I feel like it would have been so much more impactful coming from, the voice of the women. And I realize he's like telling us what they said, but I don't need it to be filtered through a man. It really rubbed me. Like, the more I think about it, the more it kind of rubs me the wrong way. And I'm really curious why the author chose to do that. Maybe I'll look it up and see if it was mentioned anywhere online, if someone has questioned that before. I don't know. I just thought that was it was strange. I just thought that was really weird to do that way. I don't know. But that being said, I think this is worth a read. I think, again, the women themselves are the story. So, and their sort of inner turmoil of wrestling with their faith and wanting sort of revenge of what happened to them. It's a real struggle, and you see and you feel it through here. So that part is really good and worth a reading. Pretty fascinating in that regards. And again, just knowing that it's based on a true story, I think is worth a read. So I would recommend it if you're interested. I think it's worth reading, and it is a good. It's a good book to discuss. Words also. So yeah, women talking. Parts I liked, parts I just kind of was like, didn't. Okay, so it became, where's my book? Anyway, I didn't bring, where's my book? I have Cupid Doesn't Flip Hamburgers by Debbie Dodey and Marcia Thornton Jones. I must have left it downstairs. Anyway, it's a cute little Bailey's School Kids book. I'll put a picture. And I read this on Valentine's Day. It's a cute little middle grade book. It's like 80 pages. It's short. I've been saving it for Valentine's Day, and so I did read it, and it was cute. Basically, this woman comes into the Bailey School. And she's the new cafeteria lady, and she's cooking up like heart-shaped cookies and heart-shaped meatloaf and heart-shaped burgers, and all the kids, if they eat one of her like special cookies, they are sort of like fluttery-eyed, for another student, and it goes from there. And I guess Cupid is behind the grill, and one of the kids is like, this can't happen anymore. So it's a middle grade book for, it was very cute, perfect to read on Valentine's Day. It was fun. So yeah. Okay, so we've also had my Bloody Valentine readathon start up for this past week, and I did get to read a slasher book, The Butcher of Camp Barlow by Derek Slaton. It's a short audiobook that I listened to on Scribd, and it is a slasher book. It's a quintessential slasher book, and I guess honestly it really could read, and actually I used Permanent Damage for the read a book by indie author, so I read that this week. And so this is the read a book with a slasher or killer, and it is also set in the 80s, so it will work for that prompt too. But yeah, this is a very stereotypical slasher set in the 80s. It feels very much like an 80s movie slasher. Lots of like stereotypical characters, there's like the kind of brash jock type guy, the super sexy one, the awkward nerd guy, all of the tropes are there. But basically, it's a camp, set in a camp where 10 years or 20 years previously, a bunch of kids were slaughtered at the camp, and so of course they decide, let's go back to the camp because that seems like a great idea, and maybe the killer is still out there, picks them off one by one, and it was fun. It's like I said, it's very much read like an 80s slasher movie. It's nothing too deep. You don't get philosophical in here. But it's just a couple hours long on audio. It's really a nice short book. And it's fun. If you're looking just for a fun slasher, check it out. It was pretty fun, and some good kills. It was fun. So yeah. Okay, then I read the audiobook from Mislaid by Nell, Zink. And this one I came away feeling kind of meh about. This was my book club pick I've got a little book club that I run with some friends of mine on Facebook. And so this is what we chose. And I was hoping for a little bit more from this one. But it kind of, like I said, I felt a little lukewarm after finishing it. This is essentially, well, how to explain this one? So, where our main character is this woman named Peggy. Well, she's sort of a teenager, I guess, when we first meet her. She goes to this college called Stillwater College. It's like this sort of small college in, I think it's in Virginia. She's very much attracted to women, until she gets to college, and then she falls in love with this teacher. I don't know if he falls in lust with this teacher who works there. His name's Lee, and he's like this poet. I mean, stereotypical, but he's also just absolutely a gay man. But somehow they just can't keep their hands off each other, and lo and behold, Peggy gets knocked up, and so they, it's a times, it's like this, maybe late 50s, early 60s time period. So they get married, but things aren't going really well. Peggy is living a life that she didn't really want. They do have another kid, which comes into the play. Lee is still very much gallivanting around the South, with other men again, and I think even some other female students. He's just a playboy in general. And so Peggy makes this decision to just leave. And so she takes her young daughter, her youngest daughter, who's 3 at the time, and just leaves. And she leaves behind her son, though, who's 9. I can't remember exactly. Older. But leaves behind her son. And she just decides to live a totally different life, and she is a thing, but she decides to pass as a black woman, she and her daughter, even though they're white as everything. So I mean, she lives, in years and years and years like that, and so the story follows, Peggy, and who now goes by Meg, and her daughter, which now goes by Karen, as they, she's growing up and gets into college herself, and then what how her life is like during these, we'll say like 20 years or so, maybe not quite 20, but, and then we follow, of course, Lee and the son that's left behind, Birdie, and what their life is like and what they're doing, all that kind of good stuff. And then, of course, I think at the end they kind of meet back up together, and it's a thing. So, but I liked Peggy as a character. I thought she was really interesting. Even, the choice to leave behind a child is a choice. But, at that time, of course, she didn't have many options either. But this whole conversation about passing as black, I don't know, I thought it was really weird, and I think I wanted a little more depth into it. It was just like this kind of this accepted thing, and I don't know, Peggy didn't even seem to have think it was a problem, or I don't know. It felt weird, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know. I really loved the sort of queer representation in here, though, with Peggy and Lee, and the South in particular. I don't know. The South actually has a long history of having, of course, gay people around, so it's not like a new thing, but I thought that was done really well. I don't know. I just felt very meh about this one. It was just very middle of the road for me. So I don't know. If you're interested, I guess check it out. But I don't know. I don't know. That's all I really want to say about it, I guess. I don't have much more to say about it. Okay, then here recently, I finished No Gods for Drowning by Hailey Piper. And boy, I really liked this one. This was great. Now, this is not the book club pick for the Spinebreakers book. Lord, the Spinebreakers book club, which is hosted by Brad Proctor. I'll link him below. Yeah, this was great. So y'all know I'm a Hailey Piper fan in general. Like, yeah, we stand Hailey Piper here. And I read all of her books, except for this one. But now I read this one, and this one is a departure for Hailey Piper. This is a fantasy novel. Most of her other stuff, of course, is horror. I was really interested, of course, to see, what would she do with fantasy, and she didn't let me down. So, this is I call it urban fantasy, and it's set in this world where sort of once upon a time, gods were very much a part of human existence, and they coexisted with, lived with humans, and sort of each kind of like city or kind of like state had its own kind of god, and that helped out when it was needed, and they were worshipped and all that kind of good stuff. And then sort of like all of a sudden they went away. They weren't around anymore, and so the humans kind of had to start taking care of themselves. And there's another kind of, I guess, evil force that we're told is evil. We call it the Glories, which are these kind of sea being creatures that will attack humans from time to time. But the gods were sort of helping, keeping them at bay. So there's the Glories that are living kind of in the ocean, surrounding oceans, and yeah, so that's the thing. Okay, so but the story now, we're following, I guess the main character is Lilac, and she is this really cool character, and she is a descendant of a god, so she's like half human, half god, and she's trying to like reawaken her mother, essentially, so there's her storyline. But also in this city that's called Valentine, some murders are happening, and so there's also this sort of almost kind of cop storyline, almost kind of this investigative. There's this investigative team. I think they're called like Ace Investigators, or something like that. And so they're trying to figure out like who's killing all these people, and they're seeing this 9-pointed star, which is, the sort of the symbol for this one god. And there's another character named Arcadia, who once was an investigator, so she's trying to kind of have a hard time, like stepping away from the job, that kind of thing. And she's involved with Lilac. It's the whole thing. I'm not really explaining this very well, I don't think, but basically it's, we're figuring out why the gods left. Will they come back? What are the Glories? How all these characters come into play? Twists and turns. Things aren't what they seem. All that thing. It's really good. The world that Hailey Piper created here, I thought was super interesting. I really liked it. I really liked the characters. They were, a little morally gray. They weren't always making the right choices. They weren't always doing the right things. Not afraid to get their hands dirty, you know what I mean? Doing what they felt they needed to do, even at the risk of people's lives. Just really layered, complex characters, which I just really loved. And yeah, I don't know what else to say, because it was just really good. So if you like fantasy stories that involve gods, which that's like a buzzword for me, if you throw in like old gods or things like that, yeah, I'm interested to read that. And so yeah, definitely check it out. It was good. It was really good. So I think that's all that I finished. And I did that on audio too. The audio's on Scribd, and the audio was done really well. I forgot to write down the narrator again. Gotta get better at that. So what do I have in progress? Got a few things. I did make a little ways through Midnight Tides. We are in book 2 now. So I'm just, plugging away on this big ass fantasy book. I have tried to read more in Mary Spinster, and y'all, I'm not feeling these stories. I'm really not. I'm just not finding them super interesting. Other than that first one, which I did like, which was the kind of Little Mermaid type story. I don't know. I've tried to read a couple more. I'm just not feeling it, so I don't think I'm going to continue on with this one. I'm just not. It's not pulling me in. I was reading this for Folklore February, but I think I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let this one go. What I am really enjoying that I'm reading for Folklore February is The Sister Who Ate Her Brother and Other Gruesome Tales by Jen Campbell. I'm loving this. This is what I wanted from Mary Spinster. Some dark retellings of stories. These are all stories that are based on different cultures from, all different countries, El Salvador and Russia and, Korea, Germany, Japan. There's one from Egypt. There's an Inuit story. I mean, they're just great. And they just have these fantastic illustrations. I am having a great time with this collection. So, yeah, this one is worth it. This one, not so much in my opinion. So, yeah, really enjoying that. And also really enjoying the other short story collection that I'm reading. We are here to hurt each other by Paula D. Ashe. Let me tell you about these stories. Okay, I'm not quite finished. I've got 1 or 2 left. These are some stories. These are some disturbing stories. If you are looking for something dark, twisted, gory, dark, let me say that again, dark, disturbing stories, you gotta check these out. They have been fantastic, but dark and disturbing. Okay. I love when female authors write disturbing stuff. That's good stuff. Okay, so I'll talk more about that collection when I'm finished as a whole. Maybe I'll do like a whole book chat on it because it'll be worth it. So yeah, loving this collection. All right, so the week coming up, I think I'm definitely gonna, the Sister Who Ate Her Brothers. We'll definitely keep going with that. And I'm gonna start Blind Sight by Peter Watts probably this weekend sometime. This is the book club pick for the New Worlds SF book club. And I'm really excited. I've been dying to read this. I can't wait. I'm so excited. So this will be my physical book for the upcoming week or so. And that's really about it. I think that's about it. I do have a couple more books for the My Bloody Valentine, the Goosebumps book. I may try to read that today. I don't know what we're going to get into this weekend. But anyway, that's it. I've rambled way too long. This video is too long. Okay, so thanks for watching. And hope you're doing well. Hope you're reading, some good things and watching. Let me know what you're reading and watching and all that good stuff. And I'll check you in the next one. Bye, friends.